I'm here at Avionté CONNECT 2026 in Minneapolis, and I'm sitting down here with Odell Tuttle, CTO at Avionté. He has spent almost 30 years building large-scale software platforms, and he's been a guy on the Avionté CONNECT stage for years, walking the industry about what AI actually means for staffing. OT, thank you so much for taking the time out of your
Thank you.
busy day. The theme of the conference this year is intelligence with purpose, and you've been giving the AI keynote since 2023, back when it was starting to really start to make waves and people are saying, "Oh, okay, I think I do need to catch on to that." What's different about your speech this year versus the ones you gave last year and the year before?
Yeah, I mean, we've come through quite the evolution in just a few short years. But part of the reason those initial AI keynotes happened is I happen to be a passionate early adopter of tools like AI. I made reference in the first one jokingly about how when I was in junior high school, I tried to build a neural network with my Commodore 64. So those were that when you look at the first keynote, when we were talking about it, it was pretty much on the horizon. It was something we were hearing about. It wasn't in mainstream, but we could feel it was coming. Last year's keynote was really, and it was the title of it. It was "Let's Talk About Staffing's AI-Powered Future." And so last year's was about vision, and the difference is that what you're going to see this year and tomorrow is that we're talking about what we built, and we're talking about the execution against it, and some products that we're rolling out to support it.
Is there anything that you believed about how AI was going to impact the industry back in 2023, 2024 that turned out to be wrong?
I don't think anything completely wrong. I mean, we made jokes about AI taking over the world, but in terms of how we thought it was going to be applied and used in terms of driving efficiency, improving quality, and improving the user experience, I mean, I think we're beginning to see a lot of that materialize. And, I think if anything, just maybe some areas not as fast as other, as we may have thought. And yet the interest in it and the desire to adopt it is accelerating quite a bit. Last year, we talked about an example. We talk about a recruiter that might have, otherwise been able to get through 50 candidates and manage those screening calls and interviews. But now, if you just gave them a handful of AI agents, maybe they could oversee 200 of them being brought through. Now, that was a hypothetical, but what we are seeing is our AI-backed features like Pixel, the interview bot. We've been going through. It's been going through hundreds of thousands of interviews. So if you think of each one of those as amount of time that the recruiter didn't have to spend on that, so I think we're starting to see those benefits, and we're hearing reports from our users that they're spending less time doing the mundane, and we continue to build more and more features and functions to take those mundane, repetitive tasks out. So, I mean, numbers wise, is it exact? I don't know, but I think we're starting to see that progression.
Yeah, I'm starting to see the possibility of that fruition.
Yeah, and then we're hearing them ask for more of it.
Yeah. So in our state of staffing report, we found that deeper the AI adoption, the more likely a an agency was to grow last year. Are you seeing that to be true? Are you seeing AI adoption kind of widening the gap between the people pulling ahead and those who are stagnant?
For sure, and it's not just, and I think this is kind of what it's getting actually. The article that you're citing is that it's not about whether you're doing some AI, it's about whether you've really fully embraced it. So the agents, even some of our own data shows it, that the agencies that have 5 or more automated workflows in their enterprise are twice as likely to be rapidly growing as opposed to stagnating.
Do you think that there's a point where the firms who may have waited or are holding out on adopting some of these things, is there going to be a point where they legitimately won't be able to catch up?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's ever completely out of the question, but you're certainly giving yourself a disadvantage if you're waiting to play catch up.
What piece of advice would you give to a staffing agency owner who feels incredibly behind?
Get educated. If you or your team don't have the intellectual curiosity maybe to push AI across your organization and develop the workflows, I mean, bring in people who do. Look at the way you're hiring and make sure you're hiring people who are AI first. And that's some of the terminology that we use now is and what that means when you apply it to humans is really, if I give you a problem, is your first instinct to try to do it yourself or to figure out a way to get AI to do it? And that's where you want to be. You want your team to be thinking that way because AI tools keep adapting, And things you couldn't do a month ago, you can maybe do now, and then things you can't do now, you might be able to do a month from now. So I think it's about culture within your organization and driving it across the whole business, not just your IT department, for example, or kind of one silo.
Thinking about hiring people who are AI first, you gave that example of how do they approach a new task. Is there anything else that you would look for in a new hire to say, like, yes, this person is either AI first or has the capability to become AI first? What do you look for?
Well, I mean, I said some of it already, which is intellectual curiosity. And are they, do they experiment with new tools? Are they an early adopter of technology versus somebody who maybe is afraid of change? I mean, that would to me would be a real big indicator. Some of the other things that actually s- weren't completely obvious in the early days, especially when you think about technologists and software engineers, the skills you needed to write software, in a programming language are different than what you use when AI is building the software and you're interacting with it because in some ways, the new programming language is English or whatever your native speaking language is. So strong ability to deal with abstract concepts and juggle, intellectually, and then be able to convey them in a structured prompt is a new skill set that's very unique to this.
You've also predicted that recruiters will actually end up managing a team of AI agents in the future rather than just following step by step workflows that they just come in, do the workflow, clock out. How close is that? How are you seeing agencies approach this?
Well, we're starting to see it incrementally, focusing right now, at least, the way we're looking at it is focusing on specialized agents. So, interview agents like Pixel that we have, search and match agents. We talk about data cleanup agents that will help with data hygiene. There's even agents, in our platform working behind the scenes, like the Echo plugin agent that is actually allows you in your browser, if it runs into trouble, it uses AI to self-heal, so I mean, I think we're seeing it today in small areas and in specialized agents. And what we're working toward, especially now as we're building kind of a workflow layer, it creates basically the backplane for us to kind of put more and more agents into it and eventually have a more holistic, full agentic system. They're going to have to be strong in their business domain. They have to understand their business, understand their data, kind of understand how they operate and their workflows. And then they're going to have to become, and they kind of are. If you look at a staffing agency today, I was surprised when I first got into this space how much they are really technology integrators. I mean, all of them. They're going to continue to have to work that muscle because now you'll be doing sort of workflow automation using agents to help you build your automated agency.
So every time I have any conversation about AI, it always ends up talking about how people are still so core to how this is going to accelerate the industry. Human relationships drive staffing specifically. So as these agents and tools get better, where do you see the human staying in the loop no matter what?
Uh, First of all, you mentioned it. It's an incredibly relationship based industry. So, in fact, the way we see it, AI is going to help them free up time so they can spend more time having more kind of better relationship management, spending more time with people and FaceTime rather than spending time at a keyboard. Because AI can take away some of that manual work. But there's another whole dimension of it, which is there's a lot of regulations around AI and how you use AI in the hiring process. And so there's certain areas where there's absolutely no AI making decisions around hiring, for example. So the humans are always in the loop in the process. And so that, as far as we know, is going to continue for indefinitely. So there's kind of two major areas, right? The relationship part of it and then also the compliance part of it.
What are you most excited conversations that you're having here?
Yeah, well, this has been a really interesting year because as you mentioned, the previous ones, we've been to some degree educating on, hey, this is coming. AI is very exciting. We're all looking at it, and there's been a lot of trepidation, skepticism, and maybe in some cases just not enough awareness of what it really even was. And what is remarkably different this year is they are all talking about it. They're all doing it, and they're pushing us to get it faster. And that is a big difference. And that's super exciting to me. I was a little bit surprised at how much over the course of 12 months they all brushed up on their AI, and now trying to figure out how fast they can get it incorporated. Whereas a year ago, we were convincing them that this is coming and you're going to want it. And the ones who don't do it, are going to be a beat behind. I feel like, whether our message made the difference or it's just time passing, which is probably more likely, this industry now is very much thinking about automation and AI.
So a year from now, what will staffing firms be doing differently?
Well, I think we will have gained another year of maturity of these components. I think some of the things now that are still just sort of in training wheels because people are experimenting with them and trying them out and using them in certain segments. Some of them are new products and new features. I think by next year, they'll be in a more mature state. And so there'll be regular operation and we'll have better baseline data about how, what the statistics are in terms of how much they're improving efficiency. So I just think it's going to be an incremental step in the maturity and adoption of AI and automation.
Well, thank you so much, OT, for joining us here today. Really appreciate all the insights you shared with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.